What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I want to talk about the best value super shoe that you can buy. And the idea for this video came to me when I picked up a pair of the Saucony Endorphin Pro, the original version, for less than $100. That is a phenomenal deal. This is the best deal I think I have ever found with a pair of running shoes. It's a super shoe that is admittedly a year and a half old for less than $100. So in this video, I'm going to be telling you why this is the best value super shoe that money can buy. And if you have thought that super shoes, they're just too expensive, because really they are, this video is going to change your mind. I live in the United States and I was able to find this on Runner's Warehouse for $99.95, I think it was. Plus I had a coupon, so that actually brought this pair down to $85. Now I have tried to look for UK prices, and the cheapest I could find in the UK is about £130 for the original Saucony Endorphin Pro. So if you are in the UK watching this, do a quick search. Let me know in the comments how much you can get the Endorphin Pro for in the UK. I'm sure there are other British runners out there that would love to give this shoe a try for the right price. We are going to go over some specs, just because this shoe has been out for a while. Maybe you've forgotten about it. Maybe this wasn't even on your radar when it was full price at $200. But you know what? Before we go over the specs, let's just talk about the Saucony Endorphin Pro 2. Because for the second year of this phenomenal shoe, they didn't make many changes. The moneymaker, the magic of this shoe, is in the midsole. It's in this S-shaped carbon fiber plate that's running right through the middle. That didn't change for the Pro 2. Even the upper only has very minimal changes in the Pro 2. The fit is exactly the same. They've just made a few tweaks with a little extra loophole on the eyelet chain. There's a very minor paw tab on the tongue and on the heel collar on the Pro 2, but ultimately they are pretty identical shoes, and you're not going to find the Pro 2 on sale. If you can get the original Pro for a good deal, my friends, you got to snap it up right away. Saucony claims that the men's US size 9 weighs in at 7.5 ounces or 213 grams, which those are pretty good numbers. Those are pretty good numbers for a super shoe. Definitely not the lightest, but they're still an incredibly light shoe. Of course, I wear men's size 13 in the US. Oh, and as a side, this shoe does fit true to size. But in my size, US men's size 13, the Endorphin Pro tips the scale at 9.7 ounces, or 275 grams. So, for me, with big old clomping feet, this is a very light shoe. And what happens when you wear light shoes? You run fast. The Endorphin Pro does have 35.5 millimeters in the heel, 27.5 in the forefoot for an 8 millimeter drop. For me, that's kind of a sweet spot right around the 8 millimeter drop. So let's just quickly start at the top. We're going to work our way down, then I'm going to tell you about how it actually feels on the run. Let's just start at the back of the shoe with the heel counter. We can see the heel counter is extremely squishy. You can just push this whole thing down. The heel collar is thin, but it's not too thin. When I'm wearing this, I still feel like my foot is protected. And there are some shoes where the heel collar is just, it's razor thin. But you can see obviously that there is still some padding. And even though that it's very thin, I haven't experienced any heel slip. All in all, it's a very comfortable shoe to wear. The tongue is exactly what you would expect from a race shoe. It is a very thin, it almost feels like a neoprene tongue, but it's extremely thin. And the tongue is gusseted. It comes down and wraps around your foot. And when you tie them, the lockdown is absolutely perfect. I didn't have any hot spots on the top of my foot, and I really felt like the shoe was glued to my foot. This isn't the first time I'm going to say this, but this shoe is a treat to run in. The Endorphin Pro does have a single layer mesh. Obviously, most race shoes are going to be a single layer mesh just to keep the weight down, but it also makes it a very pleasant ride just because it's so airy. There's a lot of ventilation running through your foot when you're running. The Saucony logo on the side is just a little sticker, doesn't really add anything to the weight, just there for a bit of branding appeal. And then we get down to the midsole. Now the midsole is where this shoe earns its paycheck. The midsole is a PWRRUN PB, which is a beaded PEBA foam, and it's light and it's responsive, and the energy return is fantastic. In fact, Saucony claims that the energy return is 88% for the Endorphin Pro. So we've already mentioned the S-curve carbon plate that's inside. That plate is paired with the Speedroll technology, and when they work together, when they combine their powers, it effectually propels the runner forward. Every step is just thrown forward. Now that might be slight exaggeration, but only slight. The energy return is absolutely fantastic, and this shoe feels fast. The outsole is very similar to all the Endorphin line shoes. And unlike some other race shoes, we do have a lot of coverage here on the forefoot. But for me, that means that these shoes are going to last a long time, which just further increases the value. Now, at the filming of this video, I've only actually done a couple of runs in this shoe, but I am not seeing any outsole wear, which you might think is expected, but on a lot of race shoes, they wear down pretty quickly. All right, let's talk about the ride. The ride is fantastic. Ordinarily, if I had bought this shoe as a super shoe for racing, I wouldn't take it out on easy runs. But because I got it for such a killer deal, I'm more open to using it for a wide range of runs. Now clearly, this is a very fast shoe. It feels fast, it's responsive, it does what you want it to do on race day. But if you are going out for a slow jog, the shoe still feels good. There is enough padding and support that it actually feels good at slower paces. Now, I wouldn't say this is a daily trainer, just because I think if you wore this day in and day out for easy runs, I just don't think that this upper is going to give you the support that you need. If you did want to take it out on the occasional easy run, you can do that. But it's kind of like taking your Ferrari to the shops to buy a dozen eggs. While you can certainly do it, it doesn't make the most out of that tool. And where the shoe really shines is on tempo runs, is on intervals, any run where you're picking up the pace. Now, of course, on race day, it's going to be fantastic. But if you haven't already run in the Endorphin Pro, there is something that I want to let you know about, and that is the ride. The ride is a little firmer than some other race day shoes. Now, there are generally two camps of people when it comes to race day super shoes. Some like their shoes a little firmer, some like their shoes a little softer. Generally speaking, I do fall into the softer category. The 4% are just ridiculously soft, and they just soak up that energy and then give it back to me without it being a harsh ride. Now, while I would never call the Endorphin Pro a harsh ride, it is noticeably firmer. And I think that firmer ride does have its place. But at least for me, in the foreseeable future, I don't think, as long as I have a pair of 4%, I don't think I'll be grabbing for the Endorphin Pros when it comes time to a marathon. Who knows? Maybe that'll change. But I think from races, from the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, definitely you could run a marathon in these quite comfortably, especially if you like the firmer ride. For me, the shorter distances, half marathon and less, are where this shoe is going to shine. And just to add to what I said earlier about this shoe being able to run easy, in part that is because of the firmer ride. If you've ever taken these super stack height, soft racing shoes out for an easier run, they're just not comfortable. At least for me, they feel a bit wobbly, the stability at slower speeds don't work, but with the Endorphin Pro, it's stable all the way. In fact, if I had to choose one thing that I love the most about the Endorphin Pro, is its stability. This shoe attached to my foot like it was a part of my body, and running in it felt completely natural. Now, a lot of race shoes with those high stacks, again, I'm really bashing on these high stack race shoes. They're perfect for the tool that they're designed for. But sometimes, if you land on your heel, or you land just a bit further back than you do at race pace, they get a bit wobbly. The stability is called into question. And I found that when I'm rounding corners in a high stack height soft racing shoe, it can almost feel like I'm gonna roll my ankle. I never had the feeling running in these Endorphin Pros. So ultimately, if you are looking for a shoe that can pretty much do it all on race day, if you don't want to spend the ridiculous amount of money that the companies are charging for their super shoes, you can get this super shoe for under $100 right now. And I'll say it again, this is a treat to run in, and it is the best value shoe I've ever bought. So some of you may be wondering, what else could I buy for $100? I want a super shoe, what else can I buy for $100? Well, there's always the Atreyu, the artist, and this is their $100 super shoe. And honestly, it's similar in a lot of ways. It's a mono layer mesh, bit thicker than the Endorphin Pro. The heel collar is super squishy, just like on here, but the ride is a lot softer in the artist. And if I had to compare the two as far as responsiveness, I would choose the Endorphin Pro every single day. For training runs, for running fast, and it's the shoe I'd choose on race day. Well guys, let me know in the comments, have you run in the Endorphin Pro before? If you haven't, are you thinking about getting a pair while they're on sale? Guys, thanks for staying all the way to the end of the video. I know I've been gushing about a super shoe that's about 1.5 years old, but perhaps you didn't know about that deal. And if you hadn't heard about the deal, I really want you to snap up a pair of these. It's money well spent. My friends, be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.